All right, hello everybody, and welcome to our February PRAB meeting. We're glad you all could join us tonight. Thank you to our board members who have given their time as a volunteer to come to PRAB meetings. And thank you to the department for being here tonight. We appreciate all of your time and engagement. We'd like to get our meeting started tonight with reading the land acknowledgement, and Uriel has offered to read that. Thanks, Uriel. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Lee. All right, nice to see everyone. We would like to start today's meeting by reading a land acknowledgement. Thank you to City Council and the Denver American Indian Commission for creating this acknowledgement and allowing DPR to use it. Denver Parks and Recreation honors and acknowledges that the land on which we reside is the traditional territory of the Ute, Cheyenne, and Arapaho peoples. We also recognize that 48 contemporary tribal nations that are historically tied to the lands that make up the state of Colorado. We honor elders past, present, and future, and those who have stewarded this land throughout generations. We also recognize that government, academic, and cultural institutions were founded upon and continue to enact exclusions and erasures of Indigenous people. May this acknowledgement demonstrate a commitment to working to dismantle ongoing legacies of oppression and inequities, and recognize the current and future contributions of Indigenous communities in Denver. Let's continue to be good stewards of the land and honor our past, both today and into the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Odia. Appreciate it. I'd also like to start by reading our board norms that we've established as operational norms for our board. Be respectful, presume positive intentions, seek first to understand and then be understood. Stay focused on topics at hand, allow space for all to have a voice, listen without judgment, and live our values of equity and inclusion. So once again, thank you all for being here on this lovely spring February day. I'd like to get started by welcoming one of our new members. We have John Hayden representing Councilman Watson in District 9. I'd like to welcome you, John, to the board and give you just a moment to kind of introduce yourself and tell us what brings you to the board.
Great, thank you very much. As you said, my name is John Hayden. I live in the 5 Points neighborhood in District 9, and I'm a native of Denver, grew up in West Arvada, and have lived in 5 Points for 30 years. And my interest in PRAB comes from decades of working on park stewardship programs. We have a group of volunteers here in the Curtis Park section of 5 Points that take care of the flower beds and do park programming and events in the various parks in 5 Points, and have done that for about 15 years now. And then also in the recreation side, I'm a founding member of the Squid Swim Team, Denver's LGBTQ swim team, along with my husband Keith, and a few others, and have used the recreation centers for decades to teach people to swim and create community in that respect. So those are the things that bring me here, and I want to make sure that our pools and our parks and our facilities are open and welcoming to everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us. We're excited to have you, and it's a lot to learn. So what we're trying to do with our new members is set them up with a mentor, so you can ask questions and learn about PRAB, because it's a lot. So thank you. I'd also like to take a moment and just welcome the youth that we have tonight. So far, and Arthur or Laura, tell me if I'm wrong, but I saw that we had Audrey joining us tonight. So thank you, Audrey. And we also had Tasneem joining us. So wonderful, we appreciate that, and thank you for coming tonight. All right, our first action item tonight is to talk about January minutes. So I'd first like to ask if there's any edits or adjustments that need to be made to those minutes. Okay, hearing none, if there's no objection, I would like to adopt the motion to approve the minutes as written. And then I say, hearing no objections, we will approve the minutes as written.
So moved.
Thank you. I read Robert's rules for that, and I think that saves us a little time.
Do we have anybody abstaining that we need to note?
Marlene.
Me. Marlene.
I would guess, John, you might want to abstain since you were not on the board yet.
You're
Yes,
still muted.
I would not vote because I was not at the meeting.
Great. Thank you. All right. So then our first item tonight is our public comments. And we have quite a few people who've signed up for public comments tonight. So I wanted to start by just going over our public speaking guidelines. So we ask that all speakers begin by stating your name. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak. Please refrain from any profane or obscene speech and direct your comments to the board as a whole, and refrain from any individual or personal attacks. We really value your thoughts and your contributions and your input. So thank you for coming tonight. Our public speakers, please understand we don't respond to public comment at this time. It's possible that somebody will follow up with you, but thank you. So Arthur, with that, who is our first speaker tonight?
Our first public comment is from Lisa Robinson. Lisa?
Thank you, Arthur. Thank you, Lee. My name's Lisa Robinson. This month marks 1 year me speaking PRAB public comment. I've received no help, no contact, just ignored, hoping I will go away. In fact, since I first spoke 1 year ago, DPR has retaliated against me to the extreme, suspending me 1 year, calling the police on me 4 times, exercising my First Amendment rights, conspiring to have me unlawfully arrested, giving me a criminal trespass, disturbing the peace police record, proceeding with a 9-month malicious prosecution, burdening me with $6,000 in expenses, issuing citations and sending them to collections to ruin my perfect credit score, denying me many core public records requests, stopping my free speech many times, calling me a liar, videos of Martinez bashing in my garage door, a class 6 felony, making me terrified in my home. Martinez got my home address through DPR records. If PRAB would have talked to DPR, maybe some of this could have been avoided. Martinez messaged me, I'll be forced out of Denver. I've been attacked in the rec centers, assaulted, had my iPhone stolen by a wealthy white DPR member at Hudson Lake, was attacked by DPR staff Dave Lynch on camera in front of Dave's supervisors, and all they did was praise Lynch. Martinez lied to police, telling police I'd been trespassed from a public lobby, which was not true, and police arrested me based on Martinez's lie. But after being maliciously prosecuted by the city and county of Denver for 9 months, the city dismissed my criminal case after my attorney asked the magistrate to hear the merits of the case. Joel and Martinez and former city attorney McLaughlin have such out of control rage that they spend city money and resources to destroy an elderly, disabled, widowed female when the city is $250 million in the red, and Mayor Johnson knows about this. Martinez suspended me from all rec centers, all Denver parks, cannot look at a recreational activity for 1 year, posting a video to my YouTube channel where I called Martinez a criminal. My 1 year suspension for constitutionally protected activity will be up in 1 week. Am I allowed back in the rec centers? I've done nothing wrong. Can someone contact me? Will I be arrested if I try to use the rec center again? Is the plan for Joel and Martinez to force me out of Denver still in play? ICE and DPR use the same game plan. I pay taxes and I've done nothing wrong except stand up to tyranny. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay. Next speaker, Arthur.
Yes, our next speaker on the list is Nicole Powell. Nicole?
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Powell. I'm also an active participant in the Denver Squid. It's good to see some familiar faces on here. I'm also here to just talk about how I would like to see the swim team is back in the Denver Parks pools again. It's been great to swim there during the week. We unfortunately haven't had swim practice during a weekday since December, I believe. And I want to just emphasize the community growth that we do a lot of. Often we invite tons of swimmers to join the Denver Squid if there's something in the Denver parks, and we respect all the rules within the guidelines that are set. So just here to express my voice of the community building that Denver Squid builds, and that I would love to see us be active participants again within the Denver Parks pools. It's been a huge part of like my community growth here. I'm a transplant from Atlanta, so would really enjoy to have those practices back, and I dearly miss them. So thank you so much for hearing me.
Thank you, Nicole. Arthur?
Okay. Our next speaker is Keith Pryor. Keith?
Great. Thanks so much for allowing us to comment tonight. Just wanted to thank Parks and Rec for being great partners in revisiting the 50-meter pool in Curtis Mestizo Park. It was clear that the community was not happy with the original 25-meter pool that was proposed, and we do appreciate that the city came through, allowed us to reopen that process, and then saw what the community really wanted was the 50-meter pool. I would like to hope that we need to revisit the design, and I look forward to having those discussions to get that through Landmark. But mainly, the community wants some additional amenities, and they're willing to raise those funds. And those amenities would be starting blocks, a high dive, some other play features, basketball court in the water, and those would all be great amenities that most of their peers have in the suburbs. And it's really critical to have these types of amenities so that the children of 5 Points and the city of Denver are not at a distinct disadvantage compared to those peers that are in Central Park or in Arvada or any of the other suburbs. So it is really critical that we allow this community to continue to build upon what we have gotten, but we still would like to see some other amenities so that, like I said, the children of this community won't be at a distinct disadvantage compared to their peers in the surrounding vicinities of Denver. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Keith. Arthur, our next speaker.
Great. Our next speaker is Gary Montague. Gary?
Not yet. We can't hear you quite yet, Gary. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was on the phone. So first off, I'd like to thank Arthur for the back and forth on email and getting us here. And then good evening. My name is Gary Montague, and I would also like to thank Meredith and members on this board who've taken the time over the last month to dig into this issue. Since my public comment, what began as a training concern has clearly grown into something bigger. We are now seeing media coverage regarding displacement of the SWIDs and other community programs. This is no longer isolated to one team. This is a systemic issue. From DPR leadership, the message has been consistent. There will be no reconsideration. There's no approval path. However, we've also heard that the policy may be reevaluated sometime in the future, but that time frame remains completely unclear. City council members have also indicated that their hands are effectively tied under the mayor-run structure. So as a constituent, we are left without any clarity on where accountability actually sits. At this point, what is missing is a formal, publicly available written explanation of the policy change. Not forwarded emails, not a verbal summary, but a well-documented outline of 1, the rationale for the shift, 2, economic analysis behind it, 3, equity impact assessment, 4, the implementation plan, and then finally, the metrics on which success will be evaluated. Because from the outside, it is difficult to reconcile how eliminating long-standing revenue-generating programs are eliminated while continuing other forms of private rental achieves greater inclusion and financial stability. Revenue has already begun leaving Denver. We are the Denver Tritons. But tonight, I'm speaking from Commerce City, where my kids train. This is not symbolic, this is real-world impact. What exactly has this policy achieved so far? What does success look like? I initially came to you guys last month as a Triton parent. However, today, I'm now a concerned Denver constituent with concerned about broader breakdown in policy rollout, stakeholder engagement, and leadership accountability. I respectfully request that the board formally seeks written explanation and timeline from DPR leadership so the public can understand what has happened and where this is going. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. We appreciate that. And have our next speaker, Arthur.
Yes, just a moment. Our next speaker is Aurelio Martinez. It should be just a moment before you can give comment. Sorry, it's just running a little bit slow. see, I'm having a little trouble promoting Aurelio. Our next, we'll come back to you, Aurelio. Our next speaker is Eileen Feltman. If you can just hang on just a moment, Eileen, hopefully we can get you promoted to a panelist here. There you go. You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Hello.
Yes, we
Hello.
can hear
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, hold on. Yeah, I was trying to start the video. It's not working. So,
There we go.
hello. So I was going to actually defer to some other people in our neighborhood, but it sounds like you've got some time. First of all, I live in Five Points in the Five Points Curtis Park area. And I wanted to thank Parks and Rec for allowing the community to put out another survey that better reflected what our community wanted, which was the 50-meter pool. So thank you for that. I don't want to spend a lot of time because these issues will be brought up by some other people. And I think Keith brought up some of the stuff. We would like, personally, as a constituent, I would like Parks and Rec to design in and pencil in and give us the cost for some of those features that Keith mentioned, although it might not be in the budget or in the original or in the original concept for a 50-meter pool. Our community wants a regular diving board and a 3-meter diving board, the starting blocks and some other things that Keith mentioned. To best accommodate that and these extra funds, the community will go after, but we need to know what it will cost so that we can go to foundations and funders to, and to get that money. But we also need to have those features designed in the pool deck so it could easily, those features could be easily received. So we've asked this over and over again for several months. So far, every meeting is, gee, we don't have a new architect. Oh, it's not, this isn't designed. Well, we're giving a lot of not really clear answers, but my ask is this: pencil those in, make sure the infrastructure is there to receive those things, and then let the community raise the money for those few extra things that Keith had mentioned. So anyway, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Eileen. Oh, here we go. Thank you, Eileen. And Arthur, our next speaker, if we're able to promote Aurelio.
Yeah, Aurelio is still not able to promote. Did just attempt to promote Stephanie Getz.
Okay.
Stephanie, maybe I'll just allow you to talk, Stephanie.
I see
There you are. You're promoted. Yeah,
okay.
Great.
Hi. I don't know
Hello.
if you can. All right, you can hear me. Awesome.
I can hear you. Yes, go ahead.
Great. I'm Stephanie Getz. I'm a member of the Denver Squid, and also just here to talk about wanting more group access to pools in Denver Parks and Rec. Squid is such a big part of the Denver community, and it's definitely how I've built like most of my community after having moved to Denver. And it's really important to have pool time and have the space available. So yeah, we're an open and inclusive team for everyone. We welcome and invite anyone in the community to join. And I feel like that aligns really well with Denver Parks and Rec's mission to also invite community in. So yeah, I would love to partner again and be able to use the space and join in those missions. I also think it's really hard to self-motivate to swim. And we often find that the lanes that are open to the public when we have our practice time are not very populated. So I think having a team and having some structure and a coach to guide those practices is a really nice way to swim and also build community. So I definitely think there's a pathway to partnership here, and I really hope that we can get back in your pools. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Arthur, our next speaker.
See our next speaker on the list. Excuse me. Orion Richmond. See, give it just a moment, Orion, and you should be able to speak. There you go.
Let's see.
I've been promoted. This is exciting.
You're promoted. There you go. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for taking the time to listen to us tonight. My name is Orion Richmond. I live in the Spear neighborhood. I'm also a member of Denver Squid. Have been for many years, and I'm also just want to be here to express the importance of that organization, and to try to help get full-time restored at Denver Parks and Rec facilities. I think a couple of things about the team that have been brought up, but I want to elaborate a little bit. It is a 501c3 nonprofit, so we're not a for-profit swim team, which means we prioritize accessibility. We provide scholarships to folks who can't afford to pay our memberships. We, as Stephanie mentioned, we are able to pack a lot more swimmers, per lane when we run practices, 5 to 6 swimmers in a lane, which allows more people to be using the facilities, which is very important to us, that we're, making good use of our public facilities. And we also provide a space where many LGBTQ folks, locker rooms and pools can be sort of places of anxiety, and especially for folks who are trans. And having a place where people can go and feel comfortable with folks that understand who they are is a value to the community, a service that I think we provide to the larger community. It isn't provided by just having open swim for the public. As many have mentioned, Denver was a big factor in me integrating into the community, into the city when I moved here in 2015. And most of my friends that I have now, I've met either on the team or through friends of friends on the team. It's a very long-standing community-focused group, and I hope we can get our pool time restored so we can continue doing what we're doing. We have athletes that are training for the Gay Games in Valencia, Spain, coming up this summer, and going from 3 practices a week down to 1 practice a week is definitely impacting their ability to train for those events. And so I hope the board will consider restoring our access to pools. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Orion. Who is our next speaker, Arthur?
Okay, our next speaker is Aaron Wong. Aaron?
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Okay, great. I'll try to be quick here. My name is Aaron Wong. I'm a Denver native and a resident living in City Park. I'm also here to comment on the recent process change that has stopped rental of DPR pools to community groups. I grew up in Denver, went to George Washington, and am now a parent of 2 girls in elementary school and DPS. My girls play in the city sports rec leagues, and we've gone to dozens of the city rec centers for swimming and basketball. And let me first say we are extremely grateful for the access to recreational facilities that Denver offers, and I want to thank the numerous staff and lifeguards at Denver Parks and Rec for their work. Our family understands very much how valuable the access to our rec centers are, and because of that, I want to make sure that this precious resource is shared with our entire community. As a student at George Washington many years ago, I was on the swim team, and thanks to swim team clubs like Denver Tritons that rented pool space out at Denver high schools and rec centers, I and a few of my teammates were actually able to compete and represent Denver at the state level. Many of you might not know, but swimming is much stronger in the suburbs than it is here, and it was a real source of pride to be able to do that for Denver. This is still true today in swimming, and without youth swim club teams like the Tritons being able to rent space in Denver, much of that youth swim community will have to drive longer distances to our neighboring communities to train, and it will be that much harder for swimmers in Denver to excel. I am also, as it happens, a founder of the Denver Squid water polo team, one of the first LGBTQ masters polo teams in the Denver metro area. And when I set out to start a masters water polo team in Denver in 2014, I didn't intend to start an LGBTQ team. I just wanted to start a team open to players of all levels and ages in the community. But thanks to the generosity of the Denver Squid swim team, they lent me space during their practices, and now our team is one of the biggest in the metro area, and we host tournaments and welcome teams from around the U.S. What I learned from starting the polo team and from being a part of Denver Squid is how important it is, as others have mentioned here, for the LGBTQ community to have a place to access athletics programs. So I'm here again just to advocate for access to be turned back on for these programs. I want to dispel any notion that groups renting from DPR are elite individuals taking time from Denver citizens. And in fact, these are other citizens, our neighbors, our families that are part of our community. And I hope that access will be turned back on. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Aaron. All right, Arthur, next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Jenna Fossum. Jenna?
Hi, my name is Jenna Fossum. And as it happens, I am actually the president of Denver Squid, here to speak again as well on the policy change of renting facilities, stopping renting facilities out to private groups. For more than 3 decades, Denver Squid has been a consistent and positive presence in the city's recreation ecosystem, fostering belonging, health, social connection for LGBTQ swimmers as well as allies. Obviously, you've heard of a lot of us already speak here today on kind of that belonging. I joined Squid in 2023 when I moved down from Boulder County via California. And I really have dove into this community. Within the first 6 months, I joined the board to make sure that this community stayed in the city, because I had got so many people, so many friends through this community. And, you know, over the years, we've rented from Denver Parks and Rec to practice forming that partnership with the city. And then in December, when all of a sudden it was halted, even though we had rented it through February, it changed. You know, we went from 3 practices a week to 1 practice a week. You know, dramatic difference in our schedule. And our members were accustomed to that. And as Orion mentioned, there are people who go to tournaments and meets across the country, the world. And it really also has limited our connection as a team when we're not getting together 3 times a week to practice. And, you know, we're not just a recreational swim team. We're a support system, community builder, affirming space. Again, as Orion mentioned, like for some trans athletes, just being in a space where they know they're going to be welcomed by other people is just such a rare resource in the world. So we would really like to see access back as soon as possible. I think Gary of Denver Triton team said it really well, just more communication as well behind this. We've just kind of been floating in the ether on this decision for several months. And Denver Squid would really like to work together on that new policy and partnership so we can have a more stable path forward for all recreational swimmers within the Denver area. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna. We appreciate that. And Arthur, our next speaker, please.
All right, I think we were able to promote Aurelio Martinez.
Great.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, listen, I apologize. I'm at my grandson's basketball game, and I don't think I was getting signal in the gym, so I had to kind of step out here and get it. But anyhow, not to waste all my minutes, I'll just get right to it. And what I want to talk to everyone about is first of all, I want to thank Parks and Rec for working with us. First of all, my name is Aurelio Martinez, and I live in Curtis Park. I've always lived in Curtis Park my entire life. Don't know any other neighborhood, and I'm proud of that. I've seen it come from a condemned state when I was in grade school to what it is now today. And Curtis Park, the swimming pool, Mestizo Curtis Park swimming pool, is so important not only to Curtis Park residents, but it serves vast communities. It serves the entire surrounding communities like the Cole, Manuel, Whittier, the Bouvier, and they just come to Curtis Park, and it's always been that way. So Curtis Park has always been full. So when we had the problem of having to try to settle for a 25-meter pool, it just wouldn't work. I mean, it didn't work back then, you know, decades ago, and now with the increase in population, it wasn't going to work now. And I don't even think a 50-meter pool is still going to be crowded. I want to thank you guys. You guys came to the meetings prepared. You helped us decide on the thing, and it looks like we're going to get a 50-meter pool. But I think we have to understand that we have a lot of work to do with the design of the neighborhood of the building, because, you know, whatever landmark approves, we are in a historic district, and we don't want to ruin it by having a building that looks like a trailer. as a bathhouse. So let's work on that. Let's also work on the artwork and how we can support the community that Mestizo Curtis Park is in there. We want the 3 diving boards. We want this to be something that not only Five Points area will be proud of, but we want this to be something that the entire city will be proud of and have an icon of a pool that's going to service multiple areas within Denver. And again, we're just about there, guys. Let's keep working like we have been working, and I'm sure we can find ways to get it accomplished so we all have a beautiful pool that the entire city can be proud of. Okay, and that's what I want to say.
Fantastic. Thank you, Aurelio. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Next speaker, Arthur.
Okay, we have 2 more folks signed up on the list today, Lindsay Thompson Atkinson and Rick Femmer, but I do not see them on the attendee list. So I believe that does conclude our public comment for tonight.
Okay. Well, as usual, Arthur, if they speak up and message you through in the next, while we're still meeting, please let us know and we can find time for them. Sometimes it's technical difficulties, so thank you.
Yeah.
All right. We appreciate all the folks who came to speak to us, public comment. Thank you very much. Now our next business item is our committee reports. And tonight we'd like to start with our operations, maintenance, and budget. And I can just kind of share from that perspective. So last month, I don't know, last week, last month, I don't know, time is relative. We met, Kate and Trina and I met on that committee, and we kind of revamped the budget a little bit. We went through the original recommendations that Kendra had formed earlier this year that were very short. We then looked back at the previous year's budget recommendations, and we designed kind of a midway between, so we have a little bit more robust budget recommendations. And after tonight's meeting, I'll send all of you guys, PRAB members, a draft and ask you to take a look at it. We'll definitely spend some time talking about the budget at the retreat and kind of honing in on it, but I want you to get your eyes on it ahead of time so you can see what you think about it and give any big picture feedback that you'd like ahead of time, so that'd be really helpful. Kate or Trina, anything else? Okay.
I think that covered it. And I'm sorry I had my video off because I'm driving, but yeah, I think you covered it well.
Awesome. Don't worry, Trina. Keep your video off and drive safe, please. Thank you. So that obviously the budget is a big part of our job as PRAB. So we do ask that you look at that with critical eyes and think about things that might be missing, or if we didn't word something well, but I think we'll be pleased with the budget, and it's a nice middle ground. So then moving on to recreation and programming. Marlene.
Hello, everyone. I will start with, first I just wanted to check with the students to see if they wanted to share anything about any visits to rec centers or parks that they might want to start with. Tasneem or Audrey?
I haven't visited any since I last went a couple months ago, but I can visit more if you'd like.
Okay. Tasneem?
For me recently, I went with my friends to the Eisenhower Rec Center. I noticed that not just in Eisenhower, but in a lot of rec centers, the workers there, they're always friendly, they're always welcoming to greet, and it's always set up a good environment for the youth to practice their sports. So I really like that. But yeah, that's as of recent.
Okay, thank you. What did you do when you were there?
I played basketball with one of my friends.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, thank you for sharing. We always want to hear from you guys and see how you feel and what you experience when you go to the rec centers or the parks. I'll give a few Carla Madison was our highest attended rec center for the month of January, 42,709 visits. So it is from January of last year, it is down 1%. Our My Denver cards had 10,266 visits from our youth, which is up 1% from the same month last year. Our Prime, which is our older adults, I think, do you have to be 55, Jolyn? 55 is the age.
55, not 60, but John will jump in and correct us if we're wrong here. But yes, it should be 55, I believe.
Okay, I don't recall what it was. If it was 55 or 60, but anyway, our Prime visits for the month of January, 31,749, and that is down 22% from a same month last year. Our program registrations were 2,545 for the month of January. And I know we had one of the questions we had asked in our recreation meeting was, with all of these concerns about ICE, we wanted to know what happens if ICE comes to your recreation center. And so we posed that question for Jolyn or John to ask. So if John wants to jump in and share his answer. Is he still on?
I think, John, are you with us, or did you have to step away? Yeah, I'll just jump in and say a couple things. One, our Office of Emergency Management is collecting data citywide to put out and working with the City Attorney's Office to put out some guidelines, some updated guidelines constantly, but they're digging in right now to do some updates on all city buildings and city facilities. I think in general, what John had shared earlier today was that any person is allowed into the front desk, and then it is a controlled environment beyond that. And so legally, the direction that we've gotten so far is that anyone, including someone from ICE, can enter the building, can come to the front desk, but that they can't go beyond that without some sort of warrant or something like that. But again, it is a constantly evolving landscape, and we rely very heavily on our attorney's office who are dealing with this at libraries. We're in conversations with the Denver Public Schools, obviously, who are also constantly dealing with this, and not just at our public-facing facilities, but we also have had some instance of folks from ICE showing up at facilities where our other facilities that are generally just for our employees, but when we've had contractors or other people there, and so it's a constantly changing landscape that we rely on the attorney and the Office of Emergency Management to continue to give us updated information on what we are and are not allowed to do.
Thank you for sharing that. I just was shared there's a lot of fear amongst our students in the schools and our families, and so wondering places, we know that visiting the rec centers and parks helps with mental health, and so we just checking to see how that is working across our city. Thank you. And Yoli, I didn't know if there was something you wanted to share from our meeting.
No, well, the meeting that we had, oh my gosh, I don't even, we had conversations, didn't we, about, I think the thing that I brought up was about the parks, that what we're talking about, like the safety in the parks, just wanted to go over, like, just put it out there for maybe in the future or whenever we have a conversation that I know there have been some changes on having summer camps at parks because following some safety procedure, which I agree on, having a picnic shelf and brick and mortar bathrooms and all those things, which are important. But when you guys did that, we started looking at it, and the parks that were left out are obviously those underserved parks, the parks at Swansea, the parks at Garfield, the park at Argo, and there are no parks. So like, what are we going to do, right? So we're working really hard with DPS to figure out some places to go, but then again, then you have to transport these children because they would use the pools. We would use, like, for example, Garfield Park. We have that little area where kids learn to ride their bikes. You have the pool where you learn how to swim. You have a little bit of soccer place. And so there's nothing close by. And so how do we think about in the future and figure out some funding? I don't think it'll be a lot, but to figure out some fundraising to make those parks available again, you know, maybe building those brick and mortar bathrooms or those picnic shelters, what's needed, so that we can continue. Just wanted to pass that out there. I do agree solutions being safe, but then, you know, you kind of see what's left, you know, what other parks that are not able to be used, and those are those underserved parks. Just wanted to share that. Yeah.
Thanks, Yoli. Jolyn, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I did misspeak. My Denver Prime is 60 and older, and I got that confused because our a lot of our active older adult programming and the, you know, at the Platt Park Rec Center says for folks 55 and older, and so there is a disparity there between what's kind of on that the sign and traditional active older adult programming, but my Denver Prime is 60 and older. So
Yeah, and I was going to yell that out because I was waiting for 60, so I just got mine. So.
You should have stepped in, and I was like, and I get them confused because of that, so I apologize.
And I guess the last thing is, I know, and I apologize if you spoke about this last month. I was out of the country, but some of the mayor's goals for 2026 and his child-friendly goals and increasing programming for out-of-school time. And I know that is a lot of that takes place in the rec centers and in the parks.
Yep.
So I guess that was just a question. I don't know if you guys spoke about it last month.
We didn't.
Okay.
No, that'd be something that we can bring up for sure next month, looking at those goals. Thank you.
I will. Yeah, I'll get it.
Great.
That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Marlene and Yoli. Big topics at recreation. All right. Sustainability and resiliency. I'm not sure that there was a meeting last month. No. Okay. All right. We'll carry on department with sustainability goals, please. And then we'll move on with planning, design, funding, and accessibility.
Okay, we did have, originally we had staff request some time with the committee to talk about other parks that were getting ready to be designated. And so they asked to come back later. So with that rescheduling, that was mainly the topic to discuss. So we went ahead and canceled the planning committee meeting. So with that, we'll just look forward. I personally will be looking forward to the conversations around, you know, what we're going to do with those committees at the retreat. So, you know, wherever it lands and however we, whatever we do with committees will be a good time to evaluate and move forward with whatever it is, especially as we track the comments and learn about some of the issues brought through to us from the public. So anyway, with that, I will go ahead and pass.
All right.
Lawrence,
Thank
can
you.
you just clarify or just identify who is the DPR staff contact for the designations now? Because I used to go to those meetings the last few years.
For park designations?
Mm-hmm.
Mark Bernstein.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Yes, and what Florence
We do
alluded to.
We do have a packet that will be coming through PRAB here soon. We met with the designation community members who are on that committee. It's just got held up a little longer with legal and survey work than we thought, so it got a little delayed, but it will be here shortly.
Okay. I do think historically there's a PRAB representative on that committee or in that process. So I've done it the last few years. I'm very, very happy to pass it on to somebody else.
Meeting
time has been more challenging for me these days.
that's not something that the committee had flagged for us in our meeting with them. And so thanks for flagging that, and happy to, if you all would like to determine who is the PRAB rep who'd like to join us for those, and we'll make sure to get you added.
Awesome.
You know,
That
I'll
sounds
just
like
throw it out there because I wouldn't mind being that rep just because this goes back a little bit, a few years that we've been working on this. So it's really important and something that it's good to see that they're still moving forward with it and trying to get as much of it done as possible. So just depending on when they meet and that kind of thing, you could definitely put me down as interested in that project.
awesome. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up, Meredith, too. You're right. That is how we typically have had someone on that. So thank you. And thank you, Florence. And Florence alluded to the retreat and revisiting and potentially revising, revamping the committee structure that we have, since that is something we designed as PRAB to kind of track more public, get more engagement, and then really think about our role on PRAB. Like it's a good opportunity for us to look at how those committees are working and if we need to make some adjustments to make them more efficient, effective, and to the point. We want to make sure they're a good use of our time as PRAB members. We want to make sure it's a good use of the department's time as well, and as well as the public. So we'll be looking at that at the retreat. And as far as executive committee, that's what I wanted to remind you guys. We have a retreat on the 21st of February. We hope that you can all join us. I know there's a couple people who won't be able to, but please respond to Arthur and let us know so we can plan accordingly. And if you're not able to make it, even more important for you to look at the budget recommendations that are going to be coming out later tonight, just so that you can get your eyes on them ahead of time. What we'll do with the budget recommendations at the retreat is take some time to talk about them and really refine them as we need to. And then at our next meeting next month in March, we'll actually formally bring those recommendations to the board to then give them to the director. Any questions about that process or about the retreat? Oh yes, go ahead, Kim.
Thanks, Lee. I had a conflict, which I have now moved an event I'm hosting to try to be there. So I'm excited because it sounds like it's just going to be a really important time, and I'm looking forward to having that with all of you. I think one of the things, and last year having been my first year and I think it was within my first few weeks of being on PRAB, that there was the retreat. I honestly don't remember enough about it, but I'm kind of interested in any helpful context setting for the budget. But I know it's part of our job is not to get too in the weeds, but I know I think I have curiosities or questions or just things I think I don't have enough context around in terms of that. So I would definitely defer to Dolan and the team about what's the right level of detail. I think you all probably did that last year. I'm just not really remembering it. But I know in terms of feeling like I'm making any informed contribution in terms of the discussion and decisions that we come out with at the end, I know just that context would be really helpful. And I know just with the budget challenges and the really hard decisions having to be made, that just feels more and more important this year to just kind of have an understanding. That's it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kim, and thank you for bringing that up. And now that you've been on the board a year, you still feel new, don't you? They're still wait, how does this work? It takes a long time. So that's important, and to think about where the budgets come from and how we started and how we've changed it and morphed it. And I think the context is very important. We try to include things in the budget that are citywide issues, not we need this, street light at this park, at this intersection, but we need better lighting and safety throughout the playground areas in the city or something like that. So this year we tried to frame it in terms of what PRAB believes and what PRAB recommends and what PRAB encourages. And I think you'll see we tried to get broad and deep at the same time. So we'll see how we landed on that. But thank you for that. And we'll make sure to include some context. And part of the retreat will be Jolene actually giving us an update on the budget and where we actually stand. And what's both the city budget and the Parks and Rec budget, because as we know, the city budget really impacts the Parks and Rec. Kate, go ahead.
I think a little bit, Tim, to your point, the budget recommendations document that we've put together, this is kind of the pendulum, and it's gone from very, very detailed, specific per district. This is what we would like on the corner, you know, the southwest corner of such and such. We need a curb stop or whatever. To having more of a thematic cross city situation. The draft that was circulated that Kendra Black prepared took last year's, where it was a bit more narrative with sections, and then pared it down to, like, you know, there were no adjectives. It was so short. And so I think what we've tried to do now is to frame it a little bit more in terms of broad priorities that we thought: safety, accessibility, resiliency, some of those themes. And so what you'll see is that sort of an outline, and there'll be a bigger conversation regarding each of these sections during the retreat, where people can come in and sort of say, like, well, I don't really think that should be a priority, or maybe it shouldn't be a priority, or maybe this should move more stressed. But we tried to capture kind of all of the different areas where we think that we thought that the departments and that PRAB has articulated in the past as being important to include. So hopefully that helps a little bit in terms of how to think about what you're going to see and how to think about maybe some ideas to bring to the retreat.
Thank you both. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and thanks, Kate. All right, great. Okay, with that, I think we're ready to move on to our executive director's report. So I'll let Jolynn take it away, and then if there's questions after Jolynn's done speaking, comments, etc., please just use the hand function so I can manage all the stuff. So thank you. All right, Jolynn, go ahead.
All right, thank you all. Thank you, Lee, and thank you all for being here. Always appreciate you taking time out of your lives for all of this. So as usual, I've got some updates. There'll be some links dropping in the chat for you on some of these things. I'll try not to blaze through them too fast. So I'll kick it off here with Park Hill Park. Our framework is just about complete. The draft is complete, and our consultant is finalizing a report now, which will be shared online. Since April of last year, so just 10 months, about almost 8,000 surveys were responded to and almost 6,000 comments received, shaping that framework that we shared at the last public meeting. Thank you to those of you who were able to make it to that. The framework is a big picture vision for what the park could look like, and the next steps include procuring the next phase of design, which will take take us from vision to a set of drawings that is actually what we will construct. And we'll be working with the community to determine those details, such as what would the play area look like, how many of each type of sport court fits in the areas that we've frameworked out for sports courts, and similar decisions to that. So going from very high up, this is kind of what the community wants, to those level of details is what we'll be entering into next. This is all part of our Vibrant Denver Bond program that continues to move along and is on a 6-year delivery window that all the projects in there have to be delivered in. So things are going to be moving very quickly for that size of a project. You can always stay up to date on that at parkhillpark.org. Our resiliency team will be tabling at the Environmental Learning for Kids, the Elk for Montbello event, to talk about the 56th and Chambers landscape transformation project that's going on. If any of you were able to watch the mayor's citywide goals, one of the goals under the his climate goal is to convert 50 acres to resilient landscapes. We are a big part of that. We're the lion's share of that. This is one of those projects that is looking at taking area and creating resiliency, creating pollinator space, Colorado scapes and native plants. And so very exciting one. Please attend the event to learn more, and you can provide feedback on that transportation project. That is on March 13th from 6 to 8 at the Elk Building. Just today, this morning, we did a groundbreaking for Block 2 of Skyline Park, which is downtown between 16th and 17th on Arapahoe Street. This block of Skyline Park is 3 blocks. This is the middle block, block 2, and it was designed with the community starting in 2021. And now we're finally breaking ground on it. This phase will add a permanent food and beverage building, a flexible event plaza, a small stage. There will be an area more permanent infrastructure. So in winter, the skating rink will be back. And then in summer in that area, there will be an interactive water feature. So think something like what's outside of Denver Union Station for folks. So you can literally grab a beverage of your choice and sit and watch your kids play in the water feature at Skyline Park when we're all done with this. This was funded through a combination of Elevate Denver Bond, thank you Denver voters, Great Outdoors Colorado, DPR funds, and the Downtown Denver Development Authority. So it took a lot of different funding sources and was a long process to get to the finish line where we're actually constructing that as of today. There will be a community meeting regarding Vanderbilt Park East, which will be located adjacent to the future Summit FC Professional Women's Soccer Stadium. This is a fascinating little parcel. It has actually been a designated park since the original designation ordinance, so back in the 50s, but it has never actually been a park. It is just dirt. If you were out there right now, you couldn't tell what was this dirt or that dirt. It has never been developed. It's never been usable. And so this women's soccer stadium is providing the development that will allow us to finally, after all of those years, be able to develop a park for the community at Vanderbilt Park East. And there will likely be a renaming process for that as well. We also have the other Vanderbilt Park on the west, and so probably not a permanent name, but that's the name on the books right now. The meeting is intended to provide an informational update on the proposed design and details of the park, along with gathering additional feedback from the community. That will be on Thursday, March 5th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Spring registration opens on February 25th for our recreation programs. So February 25th at noon, a few of the cool classes you can find this season. We have youth and adult roller skating, newly introduced adult soccer leagues, adaptive recreation excursions, active older adult day trips, and family environmental education programs such as birding and fishing all coming out. So registration for our summer rec kids program will also start on the 25th. Kennedy Golf Course is beginning to create the design of the future clubhouse and still is open for your input. So there's an open house on February 26th at the Kennedy Golf Course Cafe from 5:30 to 7 o'clock for anyone, for you or anyone you would like to send over there who's interested in golf and the clubhouse at Kennedy. And then I think last on my list, I did want to provide some context. We had a lot of speakers here coming, a few last week and now a lot tonight, talking about the pool rentals. And so just wanted to add, some details of where this all came from. And I think I'll start with saying what I said. And I think, John was there at that meeting, our newest board member, but has long been involved in all things Parks and Recreation. And so I'll say what I said when we kicked off kind of another hard set of conversations around the Mestizo Curtis Park pool. And you heard a lot of people tonight coming and saying, thank you. And we still got work to do, and we still got, we're not there, and it's a heavy lift, but we have made huge strides and huge progress. And some version of what I said that night, I think is appropriate here too. And that, the DPR employees, the folks that you see here tonight, that you all interact with in our parks and in our recreation centers, are the most passionate group of people I've ever met in caring about the city and caring about the city's residents and in caring about really delivering for this community. So I think that's important context when we have these tough conversations, because I think it's easy often, and it happens not here, with the public speakers tonight, but with some of the emails that come in for folks to instantly vilify the situation and start to point fingers when things are frustrating and things aren't what we all want them to be. And I think it's just a good reminder to remember that these are all humans, and they're all humans who really care about this, and humans who grew up in our system like I did, playing basketball, and all have those stories to tell who really care. And then they're faced with really tough decisions. And now more than maybe not ever in our city history, but certainly in a long time, we've talked and we'll continue to talk at our retreat about the budget struggles that the city is having and what's happening to sales tax in cities across the country, and how that impacts our budget and our ability to do any of the things that we do, never name all of the things that we do. And I don't think the answer, almost ever is we just don't want to do those things. It's with limited resources that everyone has to take a really hard look at when we can't do everything, which things can we do? And so I just as context to this conversation, this is a conversation that didn't happen outside of the realities of the budget. One of the big priorities, one thing that many of you and many members of the public have brought to the department for years, even before I was here, is that our swim lessons for youth, we don't have enough. People, will be on here as soon as that opens in every time and saying, hey, I was on there and within X number of minutes, I couldn't even get in there. And that's a really core mission for the department to provide that level of basic swim instruction and water safety classes. And so that is something that we are constantly, weighing against other uses of the pool to try to expand. And the team was, even in a year where budgets were really tough, able to expand the number of slots that we have for those youth programs that we get asked for every single time, for those swim lessons that provide that general pool safety and do save a lot of lives in helping people, with their learning to swim. And so that was something that when the team was weighing what all can we do, that is a top priority for the department all of the time. And when there are opportunities to grow that, sometimes it is at the expense of other pool time. And not that those other things are not good things or great things or community things that are important, but that is one of the things that was being measured. The other thing that we heard that we were talking about a little bit earlier was the mayor's goals around youth and youth engagement, and really we are a big piece of that goal as well. None of the goals that the mayor put out citywide is DPR the headline on, but we are the support for a lot of those things. And so really looking at how do we create the most access for the most number of hours of the day for kids across the city to have access through that My Denver program, free access to the gym and to the pool. And that is always putting things at odds like any kind of private rental or private use of, and that's not just the pool, that's the gym, that's the everything in there, and trying to balance how do we make sure that those opportunities are out there. So that, again, that's always something that's been top of mind also for our team. One of the other things that we were faced with because of the budget was having to look at everything that we do and what are those things that we've seen and I've showed many times here, kind of that community benefit, individual benefit versus community benefit, and how do you weigh those things, and how do the things that have more individual benefit pay their own way, right? So I think golf is, Scott on here, golf is the prime example of that. And so much so that it was determined that needs to live in its own enterprise fund, so that golf has to completely and totally pay for everything golf related, that shouldn't take any money from the rest of DPR's budget to provide recreational opportunities because of that individual benefit. Not everything is as black and white as golf versus some of our My Denver programming, right? But there is a slider in between there about focusing on those things, and especially when we don't have enough money to pay for everything and something is getting cut, looking at the things that were costing more for the city than they, for us to do and put on than they pay for. And I think that this is one of those areas where we have outside in our ball fields and stuff landed in a better place of making sure that when private leagues or adult leagues versus youth leagues pay, they pay to cover and recover those costs in a different way an adult league does than a youth league, right? The same field, same stuff, but that youth league pays less than an adult league does. In our pools, we didn't have that. And so we were losing money on all of the private pool time that was going out at the same time as we are, weighing how many employees are getting laid off. And so that is the context within which this decision, and I think it's really important that we have community showing up and we have folks from all of these groups who are involved with this on our board and in this, because this is not the end of a conversation. It is the beginning of a reality of what we're faced with in 2026, but also in how do we, continue to evolve as a department and provide the best possible for our core mission, but also then as much as possible all the way up the food chain, because those things are important too, and really important to a lot of our users, including our golf program, which is very important to a lot of people. But how do we make sure? So in a perfect world, we would have had more time and not the budget constraints to try to solve all of those things at the same time. And the reality of the world that we have with the clock turning over to 2026 is the context that led to say, hey, these things that are private rentals that cost us more to make happen than we're bringing in. We're not able to do those this session while we figure out a new system. And that new system involves, it's complicated. We can't necessarily just say, hey, well, let's bump those fees up so that they pay. We also are weighing, the pool time, but just on the fee thing, our fees are approved by Denver City Council. And so we have to run that all the way through the traps to make sure that we can institute fees that pay its own way. And can we look at what would it look like to expand hours, so that we're not closing a pool during hours that it needs to be open for kids to use, but after hours at several of our rec centers that have pools that close early or closed on certain days, is there a way to have private use in there that pays its way so that that's not something that is taking money away from some of our other youth? So I think those are all of the important conversations that our team is preparing for and getting the information together and mapping out the how could we get there, and is going to engage with all of the clubs who are impacted by that in this, in the hopes that we can find a way where all of these things can coexist at the same time. But in the reality of where we were going into the beginning of this year and trying to prioritize the things on that scale of the most community benefit and the most core service level on up was where we landed for this session. That doesn't mean that it's for every session. And as our team likes to remind everyone that every session is new. We highlighted some of the new classes that we're offering and programs that we're offering that weren't offered before, and there are others that we have offered that aren't offered anymore. That each of these things happens for that season, and that's what each of the clubs apply for, and then we have to relook at it in the next. So I'm excited that there are folks on this board who are passionate about this, who are connected to this, who know this well. I think our team is eager for those conversations, and again, I don't think there's anybody here whose ideal thing is we end up in a situation where anybody is feeling like they don't have access, right? In a perfect world, as I said about the Curtis Park pool, we would love to deliver every single piece to everybody in every corner of the community. When we all of a sudden have limited resources and we have a big city and lots of communities and lots of pools, the reality becomes hard, and it becomes extra hard to have those conversations. But I think when we have those conversations with all of you and with community, that's where we get to a better place, like we're getting on the Curtis Park pool. And so I'm looking forward to that, and the team is looking forward to that. And I am sorry that there are impacts in the meantime as we work through the budget realities of where we are. So that is a little bit of background on that, and maybe more than you thought I was going to get into, but I just got going and just kept going. So, and that was all of my updates with that piece. But again, I am happy to answer questions on any of those things, or if there's something else that is burning a hole in your brain that you would like more information on, I am here at your disposal.
Thank you, Jolyn. We appreciate the updates. I see a couple of hands, so go ahead, Florence.
Thanks, John, for that update on the contracts, the rentals, the pool rentals, because that really has been a question that's come up a few times already. So the explanation and does help as far as how it was landed on as far as the change. But last night, excuse me, I was caught a little bit off guard when I saw a segment on the news, and I'm trying to remember what channel I was watching, that talked about the contract at Washington Park as far as the rides, the boats,
The boats.
the
the rental
equipment,
boat.
the boats. And
Yeah.
so I was just wondering if you could shed some light on that a little bit. I know it's a different kind of contract, but
Yeah, I'd say totally different kind of thing, but happening at the same time, and definitely an area, and happy to jump into that one as well. That is a full contract instead of a rental. So
Right.
that contract had a term. That term was up as of January 1st, 2026. We have lots of different kinds of contracts, right? Some of them are rental agreements with folks who rent out a building or a space in a building from us. Some of them are different contracts to deliver services. We have food and beverage contract, concession contracts in our golf, restaurants. We have the cooperative agreements with the Denver Botanic Gardens and the Denver Zoo and DMNS to be operating on park property. All of them have a term at which they end. Some of them include options in there to renew. So some of them are, hey, this ends in 3 years with the option to renew for another 3 years. And then when you get to the end of that, we have a whole bunch of city requirements that kick in, right? To have a competitive bidding process. But before we even get to, should we go to an RFP and go back out to the community and say, hey, this is a need, can someone fill it? Which then leads to a selection process of selecting. And sometimes that's what you'll hear in the news is someone who said, hey, I've been doing this and now they picked somebody else. That's when there's an RFP that goes out and everyone has to bid on it and say, hey, I can do it better, cheaper, whatever. And those, have to follow all of the city processes to make sure that we have a fair and competitive environment where everyone has an opportunity to participate when there is an opportunity to have a contract or create profit with the city. Before we even get to that, as a Parks Department in particular, we have a whole different set of things that we need to look at to even decide, should we be putting this thing out to bid? So for instance, on some of the spaces that we rent out, the charter requires that if we have a building in a park, that building is occupied with something that serves the park. Right, so we can have a maintenance shop and those folks are maintaining it. We can have a rec center and that is serving the resident as a park use. But what happens occasionally is there is a building in a park where we don't have a park use for it. There is nobody who needs it. We don't need it in that park for a direct park use. Elk is another good example of one who there is a building in a park and they're providing programming in that park that we can't provide, that we don't have the funding or the expertise to, but they're providing it in that park, and so they can occupy through an agreement, through a contract, that space in the park. When there isn't a park use, either you have an empty building, which is never great, or there is then a process that says, hey, if you've established that there isn't a park use for this, then you can do some other things. One of those things is you can rent it out as office space or something for a nonprofit. But there's a very specific vein that has to happen within. When that contract comes up, whether that contract is for a year, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, we have to re-go through that process. And often then the needs of that park, of that community, of the department have changed. And so you might have somebody who was in a contract to be in one of our buildings, and it comes up for renewal, and before we even go to RFP or release it to them, we have to say, hey, is there now a park use? Is there a park need? Because if there is, the charter requires that that is what goes in that building, unless we can establish that there isn't. Similarly, if we have someone who is providing a service in our park, we have to look at, is that still something that the department can't do, right? So, for instance, if somebody's providing education programs, and we have built a whole arm that does that exact kind of programming in the city, then first the city has to run it. We're allowed to then go out to bid to nonprofit partners, to for-profit partners, if we can't and we don't have that expertise. That's why our golf clubhouses, the restaurants, are not run by city employees, and they're run by for-profit vendors who come in and say, hey, we can do food and beverage, here's what we can do, and this much of it goes to you, and we keep this much of it, and that is a for-profit enterprise for them in a park. If we were to build out an arm of the Parks Department that specialized in food and beverage delivery, then we would first have to say, well, why can't we do this with city employees? In the same way that why would we don't contract out mowing of our parks unless it's something that we can't do with city employees. This case, so all of that to give you background on lots of different kinds of contracts. The one that you heard about that is at City Park and Wash Park with the Swan boats is something that when it was originally put out to bid, was something that the department didn't have the expertise in, didn't have the staff to run. This version of that contract, which has renewed and gone out to bid many times, the same vendor has been successful in bidding on and keeping it, but that is a series of lots of 3-year contracts, not one 20-year contract. But it was something that the department didn't have the staffing, didn't have the expertise to operate. Since then, the city has adopted, as you all know, the outdoor recreation plan. We have outdoor adventure programming. We have significantly expanded the expertise and the operations that we do, including, classes and rentals of stand-up paddleboards and other watercraft. So when this one came up and it was set to expire at the end of the year and would have required us to put a new RFP out to say, hey, we can't do this. Can someone else that vendor could have bid on again? No guarantee that they would have won it again, but could have bid on it. We looked at that, took a hard look at it and said, you know what? We do have that expertise. We can do that. And not only can we do it, we can expand the offerings. Instead of just having, that, we can look at stand-up paddleboards and some of the other things that we do at other lakes. Again, some of the advantages of us having city employees doing that is if a kid shows up with a My Denver card, we're able to make sure that those kids aren't turned away for some of this stuff, where when it's a for-profit enterprise operating in our park, that's not the same. So with that one, it was decided this is something that we do have the expertise and the staffing for to run it ourselves, and that there are substantial benefits to the city, to the taxpayer, to the residents of us doing that. We can offer more, we can offer better access, and we can, keep the revenue that comes in from that in the city, which, again, is one of the ways that we don't have to lay people off, because that revenue stays with the city instead of going to an outside entity. So it was decided that that contract was not going to be put out for RFP to see who wanted to bid on it and to select a vendor, but that we were going to internalize the operations of that. And so there is that does have an effect on this operator who has been operating, who was under that 3-year contract. We didn't end the contract early. We didn't kick them out early, but this is something that, again, as I said, this operator, or some version of it, because I think the company sold, so it wasn't the same exact people, but has bid on each time it's been out and has been the successful bidder. This time we didn't put it out to bid, and we're running it internal. So does that answer your questions on?
Yes,
Maybe,
thank you.
maybe
It
more
does, and
context than you were looking
especially
for.
what I heard too is that it's tied to the recreation plan. And that it's really trying to implement and develop that piece of it internally and provide additional experiences that we haven't done before. So thank you for that. That's got it.
Thank you. All right, John, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Jolan, I wanted to just say thank you for the explanation on the swimming pool rentals, and that I hope and I believe that by engaging the way we did with the Mestizo Curtis Park pool in this process of coming up with a new policy, that we can achieve that. John Martinez gave me a call in January and explained that this process was underway, and that was very helpful, and I want to thank him for taking the time to do that. That we will do what we can to get the messaging out to the teams that this is a policy that's in process, not one that has been decided on. And I think key to what made the Mestizo Curtis Park pool process work so well was the engagement and the communication that occurred. And I would like to ask and encourage that that the swim teams and including the Tritons and Viva Wellness and Squid are involved in that conversation, because they may have ideas that could be helpful, and a perspective that would be helpful that that may not be apparent to Denver Parks and Rec staff, and could be helpful in creating something new. And I think you heard a willingness in the people who spoke today at the beginning of the meeting from the public, a willingness to get creative and to work with Parks and Rec. And I hope that we can see that return from Parks and Rec in a willingness and to get creative with them. You know, when Squid was swimming at Hiawatha and at Rudy many years ago, I know that we helped. We got very creative with the Rudy Rec Center and helped them run their swim meets for kids, and bought swimsuits for the kids. And so, you know, there is absolute willingness and openness to getting creative to make this work for everyone. And, you know, pools, swim teams are an important part of swimming, you know, and it seems like it should go without saying, but, you know, I like to use that analogy. If you have a basketball court, but you won't allow any basketball teams on it, then you're missing a key part of what that basketball court is for. And the same thing goes for swimming pools. We should, as a city of 750,000 people, be able to find some room for swim teams to practice in our pools and provide that sense of community. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, John. Excited to have you here on PRAB, and you know, not that you were a stranger to all these processes, but to have you here and continue to be involved in those.
Thank you. Thanks, John. And thanks, Jolyn. All right, Chris, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Jolyn, wanted to follow up and see if you had any comments and word about the maintenance shop in far Northeast Denver. We've been hearing a lot from residents out in far Northeast Denver about the maintenance shop in GVR. Want to address the comments about $5.4 million being allocated away from far Northeast Denver, knowing the RISE bond, and want to see if you have any follow-up on that, and see if you could follow up with committee members. I think they're requesting for a meeting out with you. Would like to see if we could work together to make that happen for the folks in District 11. And then also just a timeline, I guess. What's the timeline on this? What are we thinking, or what's DPR staff looking like for this maintenance shop?
Yeah, I'll get into a couple of those things that I have in my brain here. So first of all, there is misinformation out there on this, and you know, I've been in front of City Council presenting with Department of Finance and the bond team, and there was not any money taken away from this project to put somewhere else. You know, as the bond team confirmed in front of City Council with DOF, there is a practice whenever there is a bundle of projects in the bond to say, hey, there are 10 projects and there's you know, $1 million, then you put $100,000 in the spreadsheet until you figure out the scope of those. But it's exceedingly rare that when you have a bundle, every project gets the same amount, right? If you have a tennis court bundle, some of those tennis courts have asbestos remediation that's needed, some of them don't. When you're doing rec centers, some rec centers need an HVAC system and some need a new front desk. Those things, you know, always cost a different amount of money. This was a bundle with only 2 things in it, and they were 2 very different things. There was a headquarters shop for our central and northwest districts. We only have 1 headquarters per maintenance district. And this is also an important distinction that's causing some confusion is people hear district and they immediately think council district, but we also have police districts, we also have maintenance districts. We don't organize generally city services around council districts, because those are political boundaries that change every 10 years. We do it based on, for police, response times, and for maintenance based on irrigated acres, number of mowers that you need in different places. We have only 5 maintenance districts, and in fact we only have 4 headquarters, because most of what is now our central district around downtown was originally a part of the Northwest District. It was decided that the downtown parks just have a totally different set of needs than the parks outside of that. Many years ago, to split that into 2 districts, but they still shared a headquarters. And so it was redoing that headquarters, because the headquarters for those two districts of the 5 is in a building that we don't own. We're actually in a police building, and the police have told us for years now that they need that building back. And so that was a headquarters building, and arguably one of the biggest headquarter investments we would have, because it serves 2 of the 5 districts instead of just 1. In the Northeast, we have a brand new, very proud of our headquarter building out there. It is a beautiful facility. It was actually the first net zero building in Denver's inventory across the entire city, not just Parks and Recreation. Beautiful facility, huge yard. That is the headquarters building for the Northeast Maintenance District. And if you get into our maintenance shop master plan, what it does call for is, as the parks have expanded and grown with the expansion in the Northeast, was a need for a satellite shop. Which is different scale, right? When you have a big training, when you're pulling everybody together, there's a different set of resources. It's a larger building that is at your headquarters. And then we have maintenance shops spread out so that our employees have less drive time. They have less drive time in equipment that is more dangerous for them to be driving on the street, right? We have a lot of gators, a lot of mowers. Driving that on the street when you get in a car crash with a pickup truck is not a good situation for our employees. So we try to have maintenance shops that then reduce those drive times. And so that is what's been in the plan since 2012 for Northeast, is a satellite shop. That was originally in the budget, estimated at $1.8 million. Obviously, costs have gone up. And construction costs have gone up. So we have now $2.5 million, almost a 40% increase in the budget for that facility, that we were able to fully deliver in what was budgeted for the bond, and be able to deliver the headquarters shop. So both of the things that were promised to voters. But again, Department of Finance, when it first came out, put, hey, there are 2 projects in a bundle, so until the scope is done, just list them as 50-50. That was never what was budgeted. That is a common practice that is confusing if you're not in the Department of Finance or on the bond team on that. Once it was scoped, which, it's been, those projects have moved into design well over a year ago. It was scoped at, $2.5 million for the satellite shop and $13 million for 13.3 or something for the headquarters shop. And we're able to fully deliver those buildings. Our planning, design, and construction team works very closely with our operations staff to really dial in, what do you need, what do you want, how can we, and we're very proud that we're able to deliver 2 really great first-class facilities for our employees. These are not public-facing facilities. This is not something that a member of the public is like, well, if only I had a maintenance shop here, I could host my meeting. That's not what these are. These are only for employees, and our employees are very excited. Much needed satellite shop in Green Valley Ranch, and much needed, about to get evicted from their home headquarters in Central. But again, I think that the narrative and the confusion has been around, folks who saw the DOF spreadsheet saying, hey, each of these projects gets half of $15 million, and now all of a sudden the satellite shop is only getting 2.5. Somebody stole money from us, and that's not the case. We're fully delivering on all of the things. It's the satellite shop is a 3,000 square foot facility. It'll have bathrooms, it'll have lockers, it'll have a small conference room, it'll have an office space. So it is delivering all the things that our employees need in there. and there was no money taken away. In fact, there was more money put towards it than originally budgeted to make sure that we could fully deliver on that. So does that get to your questions?
Yes, and then do we foresee, do we need to go in terms of growth in the far northeast Denver? We also hear that from DPS, is that a lot of growth and migration going to far northeast Denver. And so we see DPS is kind of taking a look at real estate out here as well. So I feel like real estate's starting to get competitive in terms of that. And so trying to think and plan in terms of parks, new parks in far northeast Denver, GVR. I guess I'm curious about, do we need to add more funds to this maintenance shop, or do we need to get another satellite shop in the future? What does that look like in terms of drive times and transportation for folks out here?
Yeah, the other part that's not reflected in the bond budget is that we did purchase this, the parcel that we have using Park Legacy funds specifically for this purpose. So absolutely. Again, our maintenance master plan is from 2012, so it's a while back, and we still are working to deliver what was in it, which was the satellite shop in GVR. But we'll be working to relook at that entire revision that plan, to relook at all of the population and population density to look. And so it may be that there is a need, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, for another satellite shop, further out or something. We don't have that yet, right? Our team, our staff haven't even operationalized having the one that we're building. Once they do, they can start to say, okay, with this now, what are our needs still, or what's still growing? And so we'll continue to do that and be committed to that. I think if you look, historically, those are really hard things to fund. Nobody wants the bond, pick between a playground, a new pool, or a maintenance shop for your employees that I will never see the inside of. That's the last one that anybody wants to sign off on. So they're the hardest things to fund. And so we still have some of our satellite shops that are not to the quality or the level that we would like to provide all of our employees when they show up to work. So we've got work to do on updating those facilities. We've got work to do, in other places where new parkland has come on, to make sure that we're right-sized on all of that. And so we'll be embarking on, a new vision plan to say, hey, where are there still holes? Where are there still needs? How do we prioritize those things so that we can make sure to push as a department every time there's a bond issuance to say, hey, I know this isn't glamorous and the community doesn't get to see it, but it's really important for our employees. Really important to provide, those high quality workspaces for the folks who take such good care of our parks, that when most people show up, they're just like, oh, this is so beautiful, this is my happy space, and they don't see what was happening at 5 o'clock in the morning when there was a big mess there left from somebody the night before. And so we'll continue to do that. But right now, based on that plan, this is the big piece that we need to deliver for Far Northeast, and then we need to get our folks in there, get them work in the parks based on now having a satellite shop, so that they can come back to us and tell us what are your needs now, given the reality of continued expansion out there and operating out of that facility.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you for all of that. It was a lot. Does anybody else have any questions for our director?
I'm just curious if Ruby Hill has actually been successful with this weather. I'm seeing mixed things on social media.
I mean, the good news is it opened, right? Like that was in question for a while. I think it's been a very rough year. I haven't heard the latest, and John, unfortunately, is having, he can't get his camera or microphone to work right now, and he might have more up-to-date information, but it's been a tough year, and it's going to be again, I think we're going to continue to have space in my director's report to have these kinds of conversations, because as the budget, the impact of the budget continues to hit, as the impact of drought continues to hit. We just got, our first conversation with Denver Water scheduled to say, hey, what's the outlook? It's going to be a tough year, and I think it was real tough. And we did have that one cold snap that they were able to get open, but yeah, I don't think it will go down in history as the best year for the Ruby Hill Rail Yards, which is a total bummer because it was featured in the Warren Miller ski movie this year. If you haven't all seen that, there's like an 8-minute segment in the Warren Miller movie this year that's about the Ruby Hill Rail Yards that is really awesome, and we have just an amazing group of employees and of volunteers and our partnership with Winter Park that makes that happen. And it really is just one of those really special things that we do that really does provide access for kids in the city that otherwise would never have set foot on a snowboard other than for Ruby Hill. And so it's a bummer that it's been such a tough year and that, it's like 70 degrees out again. But it did get open, and there have been years when there has never been a stretch cold enough. So not the worst year it's ever seen, but certainly not the best.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's statewide, so stay tuned for the summer, the dry summer. So we'll see how that goes. But thank you, and it's really cool to be in Warren Miller. That's awesome. All right, anything else? Any other board announcements tonight? And I always like to open up and say, anybody who didn't get a chance to speak, this is your chance if you'd like to share something. Kim, go ahead.
Thanks, Lee. With my park people hat on, just wanted to say, kind of related to all the dryness that we're getting. We have community forester workshop signups until March 3rd, and this is, us and Denver forestry staff training skilled, knowledgeable volunteer foresters. And now more than ever, with what we're seeing in terms of how dry everything is, we're really worried about the trees. So I think for this particular group, given that you all are, so many of us, we're all neighborhood, we're all living in some neighborhood, but please think about your local people who could become advocates, because I think the more people we have in all the areas of our city, the better, to keep an eye on the trees and help communicate with neighbors about watering and all of those things. Ideally, we'd have like at least a small handful of active community foresters in every neighborhood, and especially in our low canopy neighborhoods, but really our existing canopy needs our support right now. So all the neighborhoods. And then also, just very quickly, our Tree Force free apprenticeship applications close on Friday. And so if you know of anybody who faces barriers to employment, could be a great candidate for the tree care industry. I know we have a lot of applications in, but we're trying to find the people who are the best match for the program. So that is available until through Friday. And then Denver Digs Trees applications close on the 15th, which is also coming right up. Free and low cost trees for any Denver neighborhood. And we are the best wait list to be on because we will basically go through street tree inspection processes to issue those city planting permits. We'll have to decline some folks, and we'll want to have a nice wait list to draw on. So please help us get trees out in those neighborhoods. That's all. Thanks, Lee.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kim. Always good stuff. Opportunities for engagement. Trees, trees, trees. Thank you. And Marlene, go ahead.
I just wanted to let everyone know tomorrow night at from 5 to 7:30 at La Alma Rec Center, the Broncos are hosting an information meeting regarding the Burnham Yard area plan. So it's open to anybody who would like to attend. It's from 5 to 7:30 at La Alma.
Great. I hope we get to eat what the football players get to eat. I doubt it though.
You're providing, I believe, burritos. Last time it was good food. So yeah.
Good. That is the way to get people to come.
I know. I'm like, anyone who's going though, try to find a different mode of transportation because parking is real tight. And if you can walk there, bike there, that's better. Or light rail is
it's very close. Nice. Thank you for bringing that up. That's great. Cool event. We'll see what happens. All right, Jolyn, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that everybody saw in the chat that John's technology isn't working, but the chat is, and he said that there is an event at the Ruby Hill Rail Yard on Saturday from 9 to 2. So get there before all the snow's gone.
Right? There's one patch of snow left, so they're gonna celebrate it. Awesome. And also just a pro tip as far as the chat goes, just know that that goes away after the meeting. So if you're interested in clicking on a link, I often just click on those links, open the window, they stay there, and then you can go back and look at them later, but they do disappear. So with that, anything else for the good of the order? All right. Well, then I think we are ready to wish everybody a good night. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your participation, your engagement, and your connections and advocacy through the city of Denver and with the people we represent, and the city, the great city that we love and we want to help. So thank you for your time tonight, and thank you department members who are here. Thank you youth. Thank you all the PRAB members. We'll see you on the 21st. Please check your email for budget requests, budget feedback requests. Just get your eyes on it, and we'll see most of you on the 21st. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. The meeting is
Did you remind them where it's going to be?
That'll come out in an email. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks,
Good
guys.
night. Thanks, everybody.